Years ago, the idea of solo travel seemed laughable to me, a fantasy for the bold, not for someone who thrived on the comfort of friends and familiar routines. I was more at home with a book and tea than with a map and a train ticket. But a quiet, persistent what-if began to grow, until one day I booked a one-way ticket to Europe. Packing was frantic, sleep was elusive, and fear was ever present. I worried about eating alone, about feeling invisible in beautiful cities, about lasting a week before running home. But I set off, not with confidence, but with a shaky resolve and a backpack full of nerves. As the plane lifted off, panic and exhilaration mingled. I was doing the thing that scared me most. I had no idea this journey would dismantle my fears and introduce me to a new version of myself. It was the start of my own cinematic adventure. Budapest was stunning, but my first days were as lonely as I'd feared. I wandered the city, feeling like a ghost among laughing couples and families. Meals alone felt awkward and regret crept in. But on my third night I joined a walking tour, desperate for connection. Afterward, a group invited me to a ruin bar. Chloe from Australia insisted I come. That small act of inclusion changed everything. In a courtyard strung with fairy lights, I finally relaxed, sharing stories with new friends. We didn't become lifelong companions, but for one night we belonged together. Walking back to my hostel, Budapest felt less intimidating, alive with possibility. I'd survived the loneliness and found a seed of confidence. Sometimes all it takes is one invitation. The city no longer mocked my solitude. It welcomed me. I was ready for more. In Bratislava, I got hopelessly lost on my way to the castle. My phone dead, panic rising. But a kind local helped me with a laugh and a gesture, turning my mishap into a memory. I realized I was more resourceful than I thought. Later, I stumbled upon a courtyard where a string quartet played and let the music wash over me. These unscripted moments became the real magic of solo travel. In Vienna, I lingered in front of Klimt's The Kiss, free to move at my own pace. I treated myself to Sachertorte, watching the world go by, content in my own company. My confidence grew. I struck up conversations, explored markets with new friends and collected fleeting but meaningful connections. I was no longer timid, I was learning to enjoy my own marvelous company. The journey was less about sights, more about small joys and unexpected friendships. I was changing, one city at a time. The world felt bigger and so did I. I was finally embracing the adventure. Kraków was beautiful, but I came for something heavier, a visit to Auschwitz-Birkenau. Walking through those gates, seeing the remnants of lives lost, was overwhelming and humbling. The silence there was immense, stripping away trivial worries and leaving only perspective. That night I met two Canadian sisters at my hostel. Both widowed, traveling the world together, we shared tea and stories, and they listened as I processed the day's sorrow. Their wisdom was simple. Courage isn't the absence of fear but moving forward despite it. They showed me that adventure has no age and that strength can be quiet. Our conversation helped me heal and reminded me why I was on this journey. Sometimes the most profound lessons come from strangers. I was learning, growing, and finding my place in the world. Inspired by the sisters, I wasn't ready to go home, so I booked a bus to Romania on a whim. Romania was a revelation: rolling hills, storybook villages, and a peaceful silence unlike any I'd known. I stayed with a local family, communicating through smiles and shared meals. Days were spent wandering meadows and wooden churches, evenings in quiet reflection. The countryside's calm was restorative, not lonely. I realized how far I'd come comfortable in my own skin, finding joy in simple presence. My detour became the highlight of my trip. I explored Transylvanian villages, hiked the Carpathians, and felt strong and capable. The fear that once followed me was now just a memory. I'd learned to say yes to the unknown, and it led to magic. Sometimes the best adventures are the ones you never plan. Romania taught me to trust the journey. On my flight home from Bucharest, I felt changed, calmer, more confident. My world expanded. Next to me sat Mihai, a kind Romanian man who asked about my travels. I told him my story from nervous beginnings to spontaneous adventures. He listened, then said, "To be lonely is human, but to choose to be alone and see the world, that's where you find your strength." His words summed up my journey perfectly. Connection, I realized, is everywhere, sometimes in the most unexpected places. My solo trip taught me that loneliness is temporary, but the strength you gain is lasting. The world is kinder than we think, and we are braver than we know. If you're dreaming of adventure but afraid to leap, go. It will be scary, but it will be wonderful. You'll return with a story all your own.